Hello, everyone. Brad Kahn. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the president for MISA. We have a little bit of a different agenda today. We have Dell with us today. They're going to share with us their AI journey. First, we have a few things that we'll go over. A very, very shortened agenda versus what you're probably used to with our monthly membership meetings. Um, First, I just want to, as a reminder, go over our upcoming events. We do have the Student Scholarship Award that is still open. We have had a few um, people submit, which is great. If you know any college students, um, we have tweaked a few things from previously. If you have a high school student who is 18 years old um, and is dual enrolled and is going to college already, they can apply. In years past, we have said no high school students, period. But as long as they're 18 and are dual enrolled and are going to be going to that school again uh, for their freshman year, they can apply. Again, that's still open. We are still accepting um, applications at this time. You can always go to mymisa.org to register, get the information to submit the paperwork. We have very low requirements on that. GPA is 2.5, which is pretty low for a scholarship. You do have to submit an essay, and you do have to have at least 4 hours of community service for the last 12 months, which again is pretty low for most scholarships. So we're giving away 3 scholarships this year. Lots of opportunity there to earn a little bit of extra money for college. We also have our IT Excellence Award that's coming up in July as well. Did we open that up? Yeah, we posted it, right? Yeah, so all the stuff is on mymisa.org as well. So you can go on there as well to get the requirements for submittal on those. That will take place in July. Again, this is not just for state of Michigan projects. This is also for any project that benefits the state of Michigan residents. So it doesn't have to be a state of Michigan project. And then we also have our golf outing this year. We're still looking for a venue. Andrew and John have been taking the lead on that this year. So we are going to be doing the golf outing. We have not solidified a date or a venue specifically yet, but that is upcoming here, probably late August, some September sometime. We usually try to do it on a Saturday. And so we'll let everybody know more information about that when we have it. And then last but not least, we have our fall conference. That is, and I always got to look up the dates because I can never remember. I want to say it's that second Thursday and Friday of November. Yeah, it is the 13th and 14th of November, Thursday and Friday, up at Crystal Mountain again. There's been a slight adjustment to the pricing. It is $550 this year. Last year we did $500 for early bird and $550 for normal registration. We're just going to do a flat $550 across the board. We are going to be posting that all goes well and hoping to have registration open early next week. So in that package, same thing, 2 nights, hotels for Wednesday and Thursday. You get access to the conference for Thursday and Friday, breakfast and lunch for Thursday and Friday. So access to all that, and then the networking event on Thursday. But that is all coming up. Keep an eye on your emails and communications here very soon. We're trying to also update our social media with Facebook. We actually, for those of you who aren't aware, we did Kirsten was gracious enough to actually create a Facebook page for MISA now. I'll put the link in the chat later at the end of the meeting. But we do have we had a MyMISA group, but we now have the actual MyMISA page that gives us a little more leverage and a little more options in terms of posting on Facebook there. So if you have not done so already, please follow us there as well, because we do share a lot of information there. So you're not getting blown up on your emails, or some of our emails go to your junk. So we're also I know Jonathan and Doug were also working on, graciously have offered to get us an official LinkedIn account as well as Instagram. And I don't know if we talked about X, Twitter, or anything else. But those are the other two that I know that we were working on. So we'll share that information once we get those up. Just more of an opportunity for us to share more stuff with everybody. And then in lieu of the Treasury report today, to be respectful of time, to give Dell as much time as they need for their presentation, we're not going to actually give the presentation for the Treasury report this month, but if you need it, we can give it to you upon request. If anybody wants to see it, Jeremy can attest that it's probably same old monthly stuff for the most part, nothing out of the ordinary. So with that, that's all that I had for official business. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dell at this point to give their presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Brad. Quick audio check for those online. Can you hear us okay?
Can everyone hear Dell? I'm getting thumbs up.
Can hear a little.
Thank you, everybody,
echoey.
for coming out. For those that are on site and those that are remote, thank you for joining in that capacity as well to the first post-COVID Lunch and Learn for MISA. We're excited to be part of it and have brought over some folks from Dell's AI team. We've got Rodney Robinson, who represents the Midwest area and focuses on Michigan for all things AI. And then our CTO came in from Massachusetts, head of culture. And so he's got a wealth of experience in data management as well as AI. And he'll talk about what Dell IT has done internally across our organization the last several years. Many of you have probably seen Michael Dell be very vocal in his commitment to all things AI, not just from a product standpoint, but also from an internal adoption standpoint. And so you're going to hear a lot of the different use cases and lessons learned over the way so far. And it is a journey, so we're continuing to evolve as the state is, as well as you take your earlier steps on the journey. So thank you again, and I'll turn it over. Yeah.
Can we just do a show of hands with which agency they're represented, and then the folks that are online, can you put it in the chat, please? Just so we know who they're engaged. The agencies represented.
Labor and economic opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
Michigan Department of Education.
Department of Education.
Agency Services for Corrections.
Corrections.
Agency services for DHHS.
DHS.
Right.
Science.
Records Management Services.
CTFB, CTO,
GTFP.
CTO,
What's that thing?
Chief Technology Officer.
All right, thank you, man.
EMO.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Agency services.
Online, did we
Eagle,
miss any
DNR,
departments that we
NIMDAR.
didn't represent?
GTFP again. Thank you.
I think we covered almost everything. We have MSU College of Law. Yeah, Cam, see, we got another CTO.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so my name's Kevin Coulter. I am an AI video CTO. I've been doing this now for a couple of years. As you've seen, Dell in AI, I joke all the time. I think we're going to create an AI swear bucket. We say AI, we're funny, and then in a jar and 3 years and we've had a long journey. And actually, I've been very fortunate in my career. I've started with Dell back in 2008, and I've been in various roles. Pre-sales engineering. I was a field CTO for sort data services for a while. And when I started this role back 2 years ago, I was actually doing a ton of work in data management space. Now, for all of us, everybody familiar with AI and using AI, I'm assuming in some way, shape, or form, every head nodding. Yeah. So, as we know, data management's a key aspect of what's going on in this space. Garbage in, garbage out, right? Both training models, inferencing models become a challenge. if you don't have everything formatted correctly. Some large language models do PDF really well, some do Excels really well, others CSVs, right? You got to figure out the landscape that's going on. And actually, when you take a look at the journey and where we've come from, it's how it's starting to work. Really where we started, right? One of the first projects I was on as a sort of a board member, giving direct feedback to John Rose, our CTO. He said, look, he went to our distinguished engineers and said, look, I want you to replace me. What? Well, what I want you to do is create AI models for me that will go out to the Internet of Things, analyze all the technologies, write-ups that are out there, all the industry rags, et cetera, and give me a point of direction of where Dell should be investing from a VC perspective. It's interesting. So this was started 3.5 years ago. So I was working on this. Obviously, we weren't able to replace John. He's still our CTO and now Chief AI Officer. But we learned a lot from that initial effort. And then OpenAI hit us all in the face really hard. Right. And that's where the beginning of this whole model, right? This pre-gen AI market. And what's interesting in this space is sort of like peanut butter stuff. Like, what the heck do we do with this stuff? How is it supposed to work? I love the fact that the interface is easy, right? I can give feedback, line command, I can ask it a question, it gives me a response. I can see, hey, who's Kevin Coulter? I am not a dentist out of Arizona. Like, it was easy for me to understand if it was real or not, and biased and hallucination, all stuff using the AI space, right? And so with Dell, we've been working on AI for a long period of time. And then we started down this whole process of large language model training. Now we're in this place of, all right, how do I make it real? And I think it doesn't matter what you read or what magazines or Fortune or CNN or MSNBC, everybody's saying we're at the speed bump place, right? All this stuff's coming at us so fast. How do I make sense of it all? So John made it a real clear to all us internally. He's like, I want to do it first for customers. I want to take our learnings, our teachings, our trainings. I want to productize it in a way that makes sense and our customers can consume it easily and it works efficiently out of the box so that you can then layer your AI models and strategies and what you want to use and leverage. You don't have to worry about the technology stack. Everything integrates, ready to go, right? So that's part of this whole enterprise conversation. We start talking about the enterprise market and what's going on, as well as we're seeing more focus from the general ChatGPT large language model processes to this whole process of agentic, right? That's big for this year. You'll see it 1,000 times. I think I'm going to swear you off that too for this year for 2025, because it's all about what does that mean? Well, it's efficiency, really. When you think about it, if I can focus a query engine around a specific use case, like healthcare, health and human services, maybe it's things like graphics or pictures from a GPS perspective, and I can give it to a civil engineers. It analyzes it real time from a modality perspective and take a look at all the, hey, make sure you're looking at the power lines, stop signs, the stop lights, the traffic patterns, right? All that stuff then becomes specialized. I can specialize in those specific aspects. And agentic is, I can take all these specializations and have them talk to each other. And find out what a cross-reference is, what's happening in this space, and how is it going to work together, right? Find patterns. It's amazing some of the patterns we've seen that come out of nowhere that we don't even realize. We worked with a healthcare team for Smart ER. We're doing camera analysis of patients going in and out. And in this specific area, it was in Southern California, we found out there was a correlation between how a person dressed and the type of diabetes they might have. Never knew that pattern existed. Now, it wasn't transferable. It was regional, right? So we couldn't use it across the board. But these are the things you see. It's pretty cool. Like what we do every day, all of a sudden becomes pretty apparent and transparent. That's what's happening in the space. So from a Dell perspective, we're really starting to focus in on this space of now that we see what the speed bumps are, we see what the challenges are. Again, it's how do we make the interoperability work? How do we make it easier? And we're doing this internally every day. Our team in itself is sort of like if I take a look at our team, we were part of a separate team initially. Now we're part of what we call our integrated solutions group. So take a look at Dell, right? We've got storage and servers and network, right? And each one had their own AI conversation. So from an AI solutions perspective, it made sense for us to sort of help, and that's basically coordinate those conversations. So, right, we're really going from this place of high quality, right, creating these easy to use processes, making sure they're as accurate as you can be, leveraging the ecosystem. And when we leverage the ecosystem, we're not cheating it. We're saying, hey, look, we've been working with Cloudera for almost 10 years. Here's a validated solution for the Cloudera. Hey, look, we're using tab 9. Here's tab 9. Here's what we've done with Copilot in the Microsoft stack. Here you go. Here's a fully integrated solution like that. Right. So taking these solutions, and as you start building use cases in your models, it's really easy for us to say, hey, either we need to create something custom, maybe it doesn't quite fit perfectly, which is okay, because we have a foundation ready for you to use. Right? So, where do you start? How many AI projects do you guys have going on right now?
One, I don't know.
Not enough.
What's that?
Not enough.
They're really still trying to tweak the policy before they start implementing a lot of projects.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, here's the governance.
Yeah. Right now, they're going through where you have to submit a request and have it reviewed by the AI governance and approvals. Not talking out of turn, right, Eric? I'm right.
No, it's good. Having it up for is a start. Right?
Yeah.
Because you need that process. I do a lot of work. I've been working with the state of Nashville economy. I just met with their Green High Performance Compute Consortium Initiative, which is a combination. It's not like what you're doing here, right? You get emergency systems, you get all of the different divisions, the departments, all working together really to create and to tackle this challenge we also have in a power cooling data center perspective, right? That's all part of it too. Right. So if I create a efficient use case, I can look at the use cases collectively, I can share resources where I can. Understand grants, how they work. Sometimes you need isolation. Great. How do we make multi-tenancy work? How do we create an as-a-service model working with them in this whole process, right? So just give an idea what's going on in the state of Mass. So it really is, right, how we help identify what's going on from a productivity perspective. So it's funny, John gets on our calls, John Rose gets on our calls, and he's like, you know what? We don't lack ideas. Let me tell you something right now. Dell Technologies has more ideas than we know what to do with. The challenge is this first of two questions, right? I got two questions asked when we start talking about this stuff, right? One is, what do you need to do here? What's the approach? What's the goal? What makes it special? Are you doing something unique? Right? So I'm doing something that's already out there, but I would just partner with that company. Right? No need to create it myself, but I don't have to. Right. So as we're going down this whole process, it's really important for us to really look at, what problems we're trying to solve. Are they actionable? Right. It can't be just AI for AI's sake. It's got to be TCO ROI related. Make somebody's job easier. Right. So for example, we have Dell Chat. Right. Mandatory to use it now. Sales chat. We can search all of our internal documentation for all of our technology stacks and software offerings. Right. That was an important decision to make. Help our sales team sell better, easier. Because it used to be how many calls do you have to make? Too many. Yeah, right. At least find a starting point to have a conversation. So, and then what's the process? Are you changing what the AI felt? Really look at those. Again, it doesn't make sense. Right, and we start looking at this stuff. So go-to-market strategy, working our marketing materials, creating data and information. Right, I told you about the whole, replacing and finding where I should be investing. Right, that's also applies to our go-to-market strategies and where we do our research, services. What impact? Right, sales, automation, and not automation for automation's sake, but automation that actually has specific KPIs that we can measure. I think that's important too. Even come up with the KPIs, right? Where we start that whole process is going to be somewhat of a challenge. Like, what do we use? Sometimes we talk about, a lot of times we talk about making things more efficient. People always come up with losing job. don't lose my job, right? And it's not about losing your job, it's about augmenting. It's a tool, it's like a hammer, right? Very efficient hammer, right? It can handle those nails really, really well. You can build a house faster, quicker, stronger, right? So AI is a tool, and that's the way we look at it. It's really about improving internal processes and then creating these predictive systems. And by the way, if you haven't used AI observability today, that's a predictive system, right? Free to use our Power servers, Power Store, right? Power Flex, networking. We're getting started our clients too. So that's where we can actually look at your architecture holistically, by the way. And we can start doing things like predictive analysis. What's the chattiest container sitting out there right now causing a problem, right? If you take a look at this world, what's happening is Kubernetes containers, thousands of them everywhere, right? And it's important that we can really look at that from a predictive perspective. And then projects that emerge, right? So the system I talked about, self-help, coding assistant, and supply chain intelligence, all part of the ongoing effort within Dell. And then it's an iterative process, right? These change. Not the projects, the KPIs, or anything else, but how we're doing it becomes more and more. Because again, those patterns I talked about, you never knew existed, we find new ones. How do I tackle that? The second question is, how do you do it? Do I build versus buy? Typically, what we have been doing is a combination. When we see a gap, we'll absolutely build it. But take a look at our predictive analysis and that AI observability engine I talked to you about. That was called IQ, which we acquired. Then MISA, which we acquired. And then partnerships by IBM Watson, which we're working with. And we have a whole partnership in this space around that. Right, so it's working together. And now it's available to all of you to use as leverage you need to technology stack. Monetization, modern data, right? It's still a problem. I work with well half the customers. I think of the clinical space a lot because they still have to delete the paper. They haven't digitized all their clinical trial information in some cases. Last 5 years, absolutely, it's all in some sort of digital format. But you go beyond that, there's still paper out there that have got to, scan and put into a database and put into an unstructured, file share, et cetera. So data becomes really, really important. What's interesting, and we'll go through this in just a minute, how we sort of attack this from a holistic perspective a few years back. But finding these patterns and use this bottom-up approach is really important. And making it as efficient as possible, because you got to be agile in this space. Right? And that's one of the things we deal with. I still struggle with currently. Like sometimes it's like moving an oil tanker. Other times it's really, really fast. Not really quick. So we're looking to get that more and more efficient. And again, take everything we're learning in these questions and really sharing it with you. Which brings me to what we did 2.5 years. Actually, it was last Dell Tech World. We presented this. So we had over 800 AI projects happening. We said, you know what, we're going to hire our own services team to do the methodologies that they do leverage and talk to us as if we were a customer. They did. So at 800 became roughly 200. 200 became roughly 30. Out of 30, there was about a dozen projects that have a specific pattern. One of the patterns that have evolved when they're doing analysis, because they're looking at data, technology, value, business value, and again, answering those questions that we talked about earlier, is we found 2/3 of the data was common amongst these half a dozen use cases. What does that mean from an AI perspective, right? Well, I get to train once. I get to reuse. It's more efficient. I can start developing quicker. I can start rolling out AI solutions faster. Right? Because I don't have to do that training over and over again. That inference model gets better and better and better. Right? So data management, code generation was a big part of it. Right? So it's such an amazing story. We're still running Fortran. So one of the use cases that we were using internally, showing everybody, hey, I want you to use your code generator. I want you to use Fortran. I want you to convert it to a Python script. Now I want you to make sure you optimize it all through asking questions, still typing. No code is being written by anybody at this point. And then I want you to create a test for it and do a side-by-side comparison to make sure it's running as efficient as it possibly can. All within the code generator. Right? So 96% increase in efficiency for coding as far as bugs we created. Right? 80+% more efficient as far as the workload, what we can handle, the amount of code we can generate effectively and efficiently. That's huge. And we have a whole white paper on Dell Technologies, Dell.com, which you can look on there and share with you. We'll see even getting you all the information on it, right? Fully available for you to use and leverage. It's amazing. Data analysis and data analysis agents become really, really important, as well as data management agents. Because like I said, data is the key, garbage in, garbage out. How do I analyze it? How do I annotate it? How do I leverage this space to help me out? Right? We use Cloudera, we still use Greenlong. Anybody remember Greenlong? MDB engine we used to sell back in the day for heritage perspective. We still have that structure. And that's important, by the way. Don't throw out everything either. Just because it's doing stuff you're attacking doesn't mean you have to throw everything out. You can reuse that. Look at the usability of the technologies you have in place. When you came up with Power Assist was for our call centers. Right? You use Stream UI, it's pretty simple. It was enough to constrain the questions and answers that we get. And at the time, we had 3 different large language models. We were using OpenAI, Mistral, and Llama. And rather than throwing all those projects away and saying, hey, let's just get one and use that, we decided to use a tool called LangChain. And LangChain would be able to combine all the large language model responses into a single response that could then be given to our call center. Right? Again, quicker time to resolution, right? Much more effective for our customers. If we could, the level 1 call people could actually give the customer specific instructions for performance requirements, test whatever they need to do, or that kind of troubleshoots happening out there, right? So a lot of goodness happening in this space. And then again, build, buy, or propose becomes out of that as we start looking here and looking at where the value is. So again, started with these 2 questions we talked about. Apply the patterns, look at the modernization, the modern foundation, and sometimes there is a modernization that has to happen at multiple layers here. Like we're not using Greenplum like it was originally sold. We actually put on PowerFlex. Use it. PowerFlex, massively scalable, a lot of points, ready to go. This is number 2 petabytes per second, I think, of the processing. Mind-boggling what we're doing in that space. And then, comes up content, coding, data management, analytics, right? These are the use cases. Have you guys seen the AI factory conversation? These use cases are core to that whole conversation and how we build out. We'll talk about AI factory in just a minute. So, establishing the data foundation. Right. Discovery is only a small portion, right? Everybody has a problem. How can I catalog this information? Setting up catalogs, because then you can set up data sets, right, that are specific to what's in the information and helps AI really find the components way through the vast system. Like how many files do you guys have? Probably hundreds of thousands, millions and millions of files. Right, one of these processes is really finding out how to catalog this information and look at it intelligently using AI, by the way, to do that work. And then tweaking it based off of what it's come up without. So broad reuse, data location, access. So we installed Copilot. This was, again, Dell Tech World last year. And it was interesting. Thank God we did an alpha. We turned it on, and all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute. Some people have access to IP information, legal documents, but should not access to them. That's the problem. So simple checkbox to fix it though, and force sharing. So we just force sharing across all of the file shares, but then if you weren't already part of that share and you weren't given specific privileges to read, write, access it, you took care of the problem. Right. So these are the things that we learned and we shared back then with our was talking to a bank at the time about this whole process that was going on, because they were going to get Copilot to do the same thing. Right. And then the implementation around fine tuning. How do we make fine tuning easy and easier? Well, what if I gave you an as a service engine that can do AI experimentation in real time using no code? I can run a query, the query comes out, it shows you what data it's accessing. Sorry, it's been a long morning. Been on planes, trains, and automobiles. And then I can annotate it, I can delete it, and optimize it, and change bias information with the parameter settings, right, to hone the information in real time. And I can show you all resources that query uses. And then I can see what the scale is going to be like. So it's all part of that whole process around fine-tuning, model aggregation, pre-training, right, and the model training aspects. Right? How do I do that more effectively, more efficiently? Right? And we've all, and again, we do it first, and then can offer it to you as part of the whole process. And sometimes it's not necessarily getting our services folks in here or anything. Sometimes it's a conversation. Right? Just having a conversation, like get us involved in these projects at the front so we can figure out where you're at and how we can best help you in the approach. Right? So let's see. Any challenges you guys been having in the data process? Like what's been going on for you guys? Is this ringing true? All the information. Yeah.
Running out of space.
Well,
Go through the leak.
it's worse.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're doing it. One mic. Yes.
So what is it specifically? Is it data sources?
It's all.
Data.
We are not on a modernized CMDB right now. And we do not have a common data lake to normalize or sanitize our data across the platform for any ETMBIN services right now.
Yeah.
So Eric knows because Eric and I have been fighting that battle for quite a few years now. I'm trying to get to that. So, but you know, when you're in government, there's politics involved too.
You have multiple CMDB?
We have 8. Well,
Yeah.
no. So yes, I will say we have. Well, let's say we have a CMDB, and then I'll say we have shadow CMDB, if you will. So we have the source of truth quote CMDB that is manually populated. Somebody types the data in, and that's only for our servers. And then we have a separate tracking system network. We have a separate tracking system for workstations. We have a deployment tools that also has its own inventory in there. A couple of those missing things like that.
Even beyond the IT space.
Yeah, then it goes even more and more.
Agencies are we negotiated. So
Yeah, and then everybody else has their own data sources in the agency. All different things, you know. We have a couple of data warehouses, different ones.
Yeah, Dell Technologies too.
there's also a ladder classification.
Well, you can't have data classification if you don't have a common data source to normalize your data.
But I mean, there are some agencies that do better than others.
Right. Then you default in the Fed, but you start your classification and say what's the IEEE standards for the stuff or the DOD doing.
Yeah.
Default.
We have to, for lack of better, but yeah.
They don't, there are very few agencies.
Yeah, so I don't need to go deep from security, but the fact that 87 standards, I feel many standards, I believe, in all the cases. Yeah, and like the whole zero trust process we're part of, it's all really that goes down to the IEEE standards that gets rolled out to everybody as part of the whole process. Make sure it's really secure.
I'm the owner for the CMDB, so I know the challenges.
Yeah. What sometimes a bit frustrating to me, like I like the company, but it seems like it always a wonderful world is or could be, but not so much of you showing us what's actually happening. Like you say, you got all this great stuff, but yet it seems like you have a PowerPoint doing all of the demonstration. Seems like your product that you trying to give us or sell to us will be doing things that you say that it's doing in front of us that will have a more impact on how I feel about it. Yeah.
Okay. Would you go up, really?
What's like?
Okay. No, absolutely, right. It's part of the conversation showing this stuff.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I know.
Still
I know it's a big.
Yes.
it actually, it actually is like, yes, so you do, have you, we do rag demos, I can show you sales chat, but I go on sales chat, how it works, functions, I can actually show you sort of our code generation tools, right? I can show you all the stuff.
We can show you our digital assistant if we can set it.
Yeah.
And you guys aren't alone. This is not uncommon with other customers, so I don't want you to think that.
Oh, no, we know we're not alone.
Okay.
City hours. Right, 64 different languages in real time, right? To act just as the initial phase, people come into the city website, and say, ask a question. Yeah, getting access to it.
That would be very impressive.
Yeah, we can totally share that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so let's.
Well, and that's the other point too, seeing a demo that's government is different than seeing a demo that's private sector.
Exactly.
Don't come to me with that.
I just want, you said a tool, you mentioned a tool a few minutes ago, it combined the output of 3 and then like a meta-analysis of line chain? Was
Language.
land?
LANGCHE.
Thank you.
Language change. That's what. Right, so that's change. It actually pains together, through code, multiple responses from multiple large language models, and a response out. Like, it's not the best answer, so to speak.
And that's something that you guys, I mean, what kind of level of enterprise or?
Enterprise, look, people use it everywhere, right? Meta uses it a lot, right? We used it. We use it as part of our Llama 3 implementation. Okay, so it's available out there for anybody to use. And that's part of it too. Like, you start this code generation stuff. What do you do with open source? I don't have a licensing agreement. I don't put my IP out there, right? And we do all that stuff every day. Part of our code generation is to actually look with tab 9 is actually to look internally in the code to make sure there is no open source in it, and look at permutations of that open source, which is even cooler. Right? It's not just looking at the code itself, but somebody's trying to manipulate it to make it look like it's not quite open source. Right? Because what happens, right, with that code is it then becomes, by default, can become open source, and there goes your intellectual property. So you got to really be cognizant of how you use the letters to the open source community. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff out there. So yeah, I love the demo stuff because I think that's cool stuff too. Like create in action, right? Andy, we call him Andy. That's our digital. So we can set up for healthcare, we can set up for public, for cities, like City of Amarillo, and you can ask a question, someone will respond in real time. So it's cool stuff. All right. So really it comes right up. I think collectively, this is what it looks like from a cycle perspective, right? Started off with asking 2 questions, right? We have a guy review board, which extends, right? And sometimes we don't make the right choice, just like anybody else. And we go back, like, oh, that wasn't the right way to go. We should go this way, right? But without us doing it first, hopefully save guys pain in this whole process, right? Because ultimately, when I take a look at how Dell is differentiated our competitors in this space, we've been integrated since day 1. That's been what we're from Michael Dell working in his garage. What is he doing? He's taking hardware, making sure the integrates well. He's testing it. making sure those PCs all work well. Right, Heritage QMC, make sure storage worked with IBM, then AIX, then HPUX, then Solaris, then Oracle, then SAP, right? You take a look at our long history of integration, it puts us in a perfect spot, right? And we have services, we have client, we have server and storage network all in our purview, which means we build our AIs, we build our APIs, we build our SDKs to integrate with all this stuff. All part of it. It's part of the AI factory conversation. All right. So real-time troubleshooting next best action scenarios. And this really is about consumer support, increasing our customer sat scores, right? To look at predictively figure out like what's the next thing the customer is going to ask, say from a troubleshoot perspective, or even from a product perspective, that you're going to need. Right? Going by the use case tonight, going by what you're using, leveraging today, and where you need to go. So we sales assistant already talked about this. I'm not going to spend too much time about it, but it's a whole chat session. By the way, it's multimodal. I can create PowerPoint presentations. It's completely transparent, so I can see what presentations and websites it's using, leveraging, taking it from, which means I go to the website and actually grab slides and put this stuff together. Right? So all part of the whole process, as well as look at, like, I don't know about you, but every day something new happens in space. Keeping up with it's almost impossible. And by the way, this has two modes. I can actually go to the internet, the World Wide Web, or I can just do internal company. Or I can combine the two. It's really cool too. Software development. It's interesting, right? So I talk about tab 9, coding and other partners who use this space. I think what's important here is, in some point, I talked to Mike. He has a lot about this stuff. When I look at like Visual Studio, I can use Visual Studio a lot here. Developers, data scientists stuff. If I think about it, code generating is literally swag, right? I can go into any ID and I can say, okay, tab 9 code whatever choice, code how, right? I can go to any code system I can choose. But if we test it, validate it, verify it, make sure it works, is that worth value? And how it works, how it integrates. So that's a whole part of this whole process. We start looking at software development, code system, and why we partner with various players in the ecosystem. And the ecosystem's ever evolving. Supply chain, right? So orchestrate the automation, look at forecasting, do a lot of accurate predictive analytics. Like you can guarantee everything that's happening right now from a tariff perspective, that's stuff going into overtime. The choices are we're going to get our supplies from, how we're going to do it, how we're going to minimize impact from a pricing perspective for our customers, etc. All through that AI model. Parts planning, etc. So all part of the whole process of really being really effective. And we've always been good at supply chain, but now we're even better in this space. So evaluations, technical liability, right? Strategy. These lessons aren't important. Like I said, we've had a lot of failures as much as we've had successes. I know I'm talking too much about the successes here. Let me tell you, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went to these. Okay? A lot of challenges. Just that, that VCMS engine, if you go to dell.developer.com, you can actually grab that SDK called Project American, and you can use it as part of the process. So one of the things that came out of that was PhD on MIT, comes out with this great new product. He's on all the TV shows. He's interviewing everything else. All of a sudden, listen, you need to buy this. This is a great place to invest. It's where you should put your money. It's a false positive, right? It's not even a product yet. It just happened to be well marketed. Right? So that's stuff, some of the stuff that we've learned and we put into our products as we go through this whole process. Enterprise AI is about trying to avoid snowflakes. Just one-offs over and over again.
Matter of fact, I can tell you about stage, see this is what the challenge is, right? We all talked about this earlier, right? All the uniqueness in all various departments, divisions, data, technology, where they are, modernization of that technology, right? The key is how do I try to ensure that I'm really making it an ecosystem that can help you. I don't have to do it alone. That's a key part of this whole process for us. Patterns are patterns. Right? Although a tool might change, say a startup might go away and no longer available, the pattern still exists. There's always going to be a tool to help that. Like I said, if I look at it, nails, screws, bolts, right? There are tools for each of those. Those tools will change. You know, like Montito to something else, and who else? But what do you name the tool manufacturer out there that you can use an average, right? It's really being able to, that's about agility, right? Being really agile in this space. And that's one of the things we've learned is this whole process. And then platforms can have short shelf lives. And again, it's not throwing out the platform. It's how do I, like with paintball, is there a way to modernize it? Is there a way to work with our tools, with our engineers, with our ecosystem to modernize some of these things? I don't want to lose my investment, right? And embrace minimum of 2 years. Okay, so whatever we invest in, it stays for 2 years, good, bad, or indifferent. And let me tell you, there are a lot of opinions, especially from engineers. So, you know, the extension of this really is the AI factory, which is an entire infrastructure-based framework that is then builds the foundation for you, right? And we have merged NVIDIA, merged with Microsoft, HP for Azure, we call it Azure Local, Azure Local AI, right? So there are lots of different foundational processes that we put into place here to really build the infrastructure to support whatever ecosystems you want to use and leverage. Right, it sounds like part of what you guys want to do is what tools do I use to leverage? Everybody's using some different formats, right? And we can help in that space. So we do have tools that I can crawl, identify, look at this stuff, and then we can help in that process, catalog, right? And really creating data sets and finding out where the data sets are and where the commonality is amongst the data. And then, you know, that's our services process, right? Really creating a whole partnership of well-trained services folks that sit with our Dell digital folks and learn what they did and then put into our standard Dell services process, right? So this can be used over and over again, consistently, no matter who you are from a services perspective. It doesn't matter who our end customer is. We use basically, you talked about patterns. We use the same patterns. So very consistent in the approach. And really, it's about this whole process of, you know, finding the data and then really focusing on the use case. That drives everything. You guys probably know that by now. And the use case drives how much GPU, CPU, memory you're going to leverage, what technology stacks you're going to use. Right? Digital humans is a little bit different than a digital assistant, which is different from a content. A code generator, which is different from content management, right? All part of these use cases really help dictate and help us work with you in making sure we're deploying the right infrastructures and solutions and services and looking at that as a service ecosystem effectively, efficiently. And then obviously sustainability, right? Which means using both infrastructure, software, hardware, data, services, and then security. Security is big. I think we talked about that throughout this whole conversation about ensuring everything is locked down appropriately. We're not using open source where it shouldn't be used. We're not giving our intellectual property up to open source. Right? All part of it. Okay. In fact, if you take a look at our data lakehouse that we're running, we have a whole data analytics engine that's tracking a lot of this stuff and keeping track of where the data is going to use and how it's being accessed
what's being leveraged and how it's leveraged. We can actually crack open files if we need to. Look at patterns within the data cycle. So that's all part of AI Factory, right? It's really this whole integrated turnkey solution. Our initial offering was with NVIDIA AI Enterprise, but you're going to see that extend to Dell Tech. We're talking about a lot of partnerships with DPW. And OMD Lounge is going to be good. NVIDIA's been great with us. In fact, Jeff's stood up many times. When he went GTC or watched GTC run, the Global Technology Conference from NVIDIA. So I'm there. Was that? You saw his speech, right? Because Michael, like who's Michael? Like there are a lot of Michaels in the world until he brought up Dell Technologies side. Like, oh Michael. So they're kind of very friendly. Which said that, for the reason why he talks about it so much is because when customers integrate with Dell, it just runs through it. Just better integrate, right? It's just part of the whole process. And it's funny because it's kind of play source of it, right? Because hey, Lenovo's great too, and Meridia's great, but I just have to take my hat off and say, with Michael Dell and Dell Technologies, it's been a better together story. Yep.
We can also show a quick demo of City of Amarillo.
Oh, you have that?
All teed up pretty well.
Oh, look at that. Nice. You want to like it? Ask if you show the city demo it is. So you can show the city of Amarillo to them? Yeah. Actually, trust it.
So bear with me, this is a live demo.
They always go perfect.
What are you reordering some? Remember?
Sign here.
Yeah,
I'm on the line.
gonna be there in a couple months. Can you ask them how I go paint the Cadillacs?
Ask them what the lottery numbers are gonna be tonight.
Share your screen for the online.
So what Kelly just talked about was basically our approach, and you had a really good point. There's a lot of things you can do from an AI perspective, but how is it applicable to you? Where do you start? Where do you get started? All the challenges you guys outlined. But what we've done with most of our customers, we have these conversations to say that AI Factory we talked about is the approach, right? It's not your knowledge here. So what we've done on some of these conversations, I'm going to share. It's a live demo. So we have, so I cover customers over from healthcare to retail to manufacturing to higher ed. All those individuals have their different challenges they want to go through. How do we get started? So I'll start with a demo that I'm going to be doing for a healthcare organization that they have a lot of challenges. They want to be able to reduce or increase patient outcomes, right? So they want to reduce the amount of people that come to the ER. If you have a patient that needs to go in, think about the time that you go into the hospital and you got to talk to the nurse and it's your pain threshold and this is the last time you ate, the last medication. All those things take time. So what if there's an opportunity for you to do a digital assistant that you can talk to this person or this digital avatar to provide those 5 to 6 questions that are mundane. So these are questions that a nurse practitioner or a nurse, somebody that's very high paid, right? But if you got that information from Dr. quicker, how would that help your efficiency? So that times the number of people that you see per day, thousands of questions per month, per week, think about the outcome. So that's just one use case. So I'm going to try this here. So this is a demo. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
If that's blocking, you can click and drag it. If it's blocking what you need to.
Share sound button. I'm going to show sounds.
I think you have to do it at the beginning when you first start sharing.
Yeah, you have to stop it.
To the Medical Center at Bowling Green, I'm your virtual assistant, here to guide you through our comprehensive healthcare services. Whether you're looking for information on our state-of-the-art ambulatory surgery center, heart care, cancer treatment, or women's health and newborn services, I'm here to assist. I am winning sales every day and I'm getting better at conversations every month. I can show emotion, so if you ever become a bit confused and wonder how I'm able to show expressions like this, Just know it's because I use a suite of Gen AI models to create a true human-like experience. I can also help.
Faster network, it would be in sync.
Yeah.
Usually in sync. So she's talking about the services specific to the health center at Bowling. So the information she's pointing to is just to the website. We didn't feed any custom data, it's just the website. So if I ask her questions. Hey, Andy,
He's still trying to get caught up.
Services, including primary care. We provide a wide range of services, including primary care.
So you get the gist. So
Like every other demo. It kind of.
but just you think
That never works.
there's multiple use cases and outcomes. So you can have this outward facing or inward facing. If you want doctors to understand what's the information around their particular patient. Now, granted, there's a lot of back-end information you got to go to Epic, depending on the EMR you're using, Meditech or whatever. Your data's got to be good, got to be clean, got to be classified. But just think about the outcomes and the efficient that you can provide to you. City of Amarillo is one that we've actually done. This is live. This is a site. So the city of Amarillo is the 10th largest city within Texas. Only 24% of the population is English speaking. 24% is English speaking. I'm sorry, it's English speaking. It's English speaking. So if you think about the services getting information to the residents, it can be kind of difficult. So we put in a digital assistant on the website that can translate over 100 different languages and over 100 different dialects. So there was one school that had over 62 dialects. So just think about how it is to teach that kid, those kids, and to learn information. It's very difficult, extremely difficult. So the use cases, you want their efficiency, you want to be able to have information to and from your services to the residents. And so we put this on the website. So if you want to know what time is the library closed, what time the department works closed, any information related to the services. This is one of the use cases. So to your point, your mileage may vary, but we want to see what's the art of the practical. And they started out one of those use cases, something that was small, that was going to give a good business outcome. This works so well that some of the senior citizens didn't just talk to her name's Emma. They didn't talk to her just about things.
Health offers translation services for over 100 languages and dialects. We do have staff who speak multiple languages.
Now she's a lake, right? She got chosen. So the use case was so good that they had to create another instance of Emma because senior citizens would talk to her about the weather, their grandkids, things that didn't really anything to say. So just think about the experience that those people have. So there are different outcomes. You have to just understand and decide which one works best for you. There's a lot of different back-end data points that we can understand, but we can help you come in and understand there's that particular process. So that's all I have. Thank you.
So that's really our time, right? It'll stop.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
I just need some reassurance. I've been living night and day with models.
Yeah.
And I always come to hallucinations.
Yes.
8 hours in, the rock is just gone in the sentences. So how is this recurs across all the models, and does that get better as I spend more money? It's the real question.
Everything gets better when you spend more money. That's Jeremy.
So reinforcement learning has to be part of the process. So like we do sales for sales ahead, thumbs up, thumbs down. And it's not just thumbs up, thumbs down. It's thumbs down. Why? For example, I was looking for a specific deployment for ClearML, and it gave me all these notifications for machine learning. But ClearML on purpose is not the same thing. So I said, thumbs down. Where's my ClearML stuff? I got an email within 24 hours. We're taking a look at that. We're going to take a look at how the model's trained, what it's inferencing, and we'll update you what's going on.
There's an effort there too, been back and forth.
Right. Right. So this is about ecosystem, the board, right? Setting stuff up.
I have a question. So this Amarillo, what kind of, hardware compute do you need sport, something like.
That AI digital assistant, what are they running? You know,
Get this, Llama, I think that's 98, size, maybe a couple 96, 80, yeah, I mean, hundreds, so older GPU technology, okay?
well, you know, we go to any AI thing and they're like, you know,
Serious.
serious CPU, serious stuff, yeah.
So it really depends on,
Yeah, under
how
the
you- it
ocean,
depends on how you want to scale.
Yeah.
Like, how many people are gonna be hitting this thing at one time, it's gonna depend. So you model it out. And so if you want 10 concurrent users, your price point's gonna be smaller. If you want 100 people at one time. then
Or what if we went 11 million?
So I know from a Dell IT standpoint, one of the things they shared with us internally was that they didn't have to go out big and hugely expensive. They didn't have to go out and build a multi-hundreds of million of dollar infrastructure to support the use cases. They had some targeted use cases and they were able to, in most cases, just deploy it on a server, a high-end server that's got a couple GPUs, but without having to have what you keep hearing about these big AI clusters of
Yeah.
40 something racks.
150 racks.
Yeah, I mean, really, AI car, right?
Yeah, it's not like that inside of Dell. They're able to do it on a much smaller scale. So that was encouraging to hear. So, sorry.
So there's, we're doing a proof of concept right now for, I can't tell you the name, that's in Nashville, helping the organization. But they're running a proof of concept just on a precision workstation, 5 concurrent users, sub $500,000. Right, so there's a lot of things you can do. Plus, every organization has more than one AI business. They
Yeah.
want to focus on one. So you think about the economy skill, build it, they will come. Figure out which one is the most impactful. Understand where the data points coming from. Maybe there's two that you start with. Then you get multiple agencies that are funding ventures to be able to help get that. Now you have more use cases and bigger than growth. But you don't have to recoup or start that whole investment capital investment from us. Just start off.
Did you guys have to fight shadow AI in your organization?
Yes.
How did you do that? You're still doing it? Okay.
Well, no, we embrace it. Hybrid. So
Okay.
we started, so where cloud makes sense, it's kind of funny giving you fuss, but John Rose is really clear on this in the last call conversation we had. Saying, no, it will depend on the use case and where it makes sense. In the end, it like using part of sustainability conversations to stay, say you start with a couple of nice days with H200s, where else, you can't throw it away, let's use that for use cases and scale it out. Buy it more. You air cooled, great, get cool solutions. Liquid cooled, which you get spare capacity for, what kind of liquid cooling do you use coverage? And so it is the use case helps design the architecture, but you can absolutely start small with the POC we're doing with EY, Accenture, Deloitte, you name it, to start off, kick the tires, find out what they want to provide as a service, and then extend and scale it up yourself.
Kevin, I've got something to add.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that I learned from one of the webinars I saw internally with Dell is that when they decide on a new use case that's going to be driven by a third-party application, they're not looking at that application to be on board for more than 2 years at a time. They're recognizing the fact that this technology is evolved like so rapidly that they can only look out 2 years, and it's going to satisfy the business driver, whatever it may be, if it's driving efficiencies or lowering costs in a specific area that's really impactful. They're going to focus on that 2 years out, knowing that it may be leapfrogged. It probably will be leapfrogged. And we've encountered that already in a couple of years we've been deploying.
Yes. And you take a look just at power and cooling specs alone. When I was at GTC, numbers we're talking about were mind-boggling. We're dealing with 15 to 16 kilowatt racks. They're talking 600 kilowatt racks in the next 2 years. Right? So,
Kevin, can you mention John Rose's short 5-minute videos that he's got out?
yeah, speaking of Dell Technologies, he's got a whole like a roundtable. Yeah, he goes through the journey. He did like I think it's 14 minutes. Change. He talked about it from high level perspective too. What we're doing. It's this presentation really just talking about that.
There's the whole series. He does like a little step at a different pieces of what's going on with AI. It's very enlightening.
He talks about chanting, he talks about use cases, he talks about our journey, next steps, how we go from the enterprise. Right, there's multiple.
All right, thanks everyone. That concludes the meeting today. Thanks for attending. And stay tuned for some future. We want to do some more lunch and learns. So keep an eye out that. If you guys have any suggestions on any other lunch and learns you'd like to see, share that with us as well. Thank you.